We're talking football, a little more football, and maybe even some football. Stay tuned. It's College Crossfire.
Just keep looking.
Welcome to College Crossfire. Thanks for joining us for our first show of the fall semester. I'm your new host, Jeff Barker, replacing Garrett Green. Excited to be here, guys. So let's go ahead and meet our panelists first. Got some veteran panelists tonight. To my immediate right, I got Quentin Bodwin. Quentin, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good.
Hanging in there with the new semester.
Yeah.
Harry, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be on the first show, Jeff.
And last but not least, we got Julian Owens. Julian, how you doing, buddy?
I'm feeling great to be here on the first day of the semester.
Alrighty, guys. Well, let's get right into it. Talk some UT football. Everyone knows much responsibility comes with being a head coach in college football, and Texas head football coach Mack Brown is no stranger to making tough decisions. Less than 24 hours after losing to BYU 40-21 and giving up the most rushing yards in Texas football history, Coach Brown fired defensive coordinator Manny Diaz. Do you guys think Mack made the right decision to can Diaz after just 2 games? Also, do you like the move to hire Greg Robinson as a new defensive coordinator? Quinn, we'll start with you.
I do agree with getting rid of Manny. It should have happened at the end of last season. So there's that. And there's no question about that. He should have been gone last season. You saw what happened to BYU. Taysom Hill was looking like Michael Vick in his prime out there. What was that? But then replacing with Greg Robinson, he was awesome 15 years ago, winning Super Bowls. And he was great with us in 2004 when we won the Rose Bowl. But it's been a while for that guy. He went off to Syracuse, he went off to Michigan, and it didn't look good there. Maybe because he was head coach, they didn't have as good as players. We have good players here, and he's a player's coach. So, I mean, yeah, I guess he could be good here.
All right, I like the answer.
Yeah.
Harry, what do you got?
I agree. I think Mack Brown definitely made the right decision. You know, I think Mack realizes that this could be his last year wearing that Texas polo on the sideline. So, you know, each game is a different journey for him, and to have a performance like that is just unacceptable. So he knows that, you know, it could be his last ride. You got to do everything possible now to get this team back in shape. So, you know, getting rid of Manny, I think, is the right decision. And then to bring in a guy like Greg Robinson, you know, I don't know what else they could have done. You know, they got a guy who's been here before, even though it was 1 year. You know, Greg Robinson, his defense with us in 2004, they were 105-3 outscoring the opponent in second halves. I mean, that's a crazy stat. In crucial second halves where games could be real close and to not give up any points, I think that's huge. So, you know, I think it's a good hire, and we'll just see where it goes from here.
All right, Julian, what do you got?
Personally, I have to agree with Quentin on this one. We should have fired him. Texas should have fired Manny Diaz right after the Oklahoma game, because that was unacceptable. All the missed tackles from last season are appearing again this season, especially with BYU. Like he said, Taysom Hill looked like he was Vince Young. Well, not Michael Vick, but he looked like Vince Young playing against any team he played in 2004. So I think it's a great decision for Mack Brown. It was a little late, but he should have done it. Other thing with that is Greg Robinson. He was a great co-defensive coordinator in 2004. But if you look at his stats since 2005, for head coach, he was 10-37. Okay, your prime was when you played with Texas. Okay, you might have known the defense then. This is almost 9 years later. The defense could have elevated, the passing could have elevated. So now, with being said, it could be a good play, but most likely I don't see it changing at all.
All right, well, it seems like everybody's in agreement. Diaz should have been fired. I like the point Quentin and Julian came with, that he should have been fired. I mean, Julian, you said after the Oklahoma game. Quentin, you said after last season. But I'm going to go ahead and give everyone the point here. Harry, you made some good points, too. So everybody gets a point to get started, right?
Thanks, man.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk a little MLB now. With a little over 2 weeks left in the MLB regular season, the playoff races are really starting to heat up. One of the most intriguing races that has started to heat up in the last week or so is the AL wildcard race. The Texas Rangers and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays lead the Cleveland Indians and the Baltimore Orioles by just a game and a half. Now, panelists, put your Texas bias aside for a minute here and tell me who you think is going to finish the strongest and ultimately make the playoffs. Harry, we'll start with you on this one.
I'm going to go with the New York Yankees.
I said put your bias aside, man. Come on.
2 games back, you know, the news came out today that Derek Jeter was out for the rest of the season. But let's be honest, it's been all Alfonso Soriano since arriving in New York. You know, a lineup with Granderson, Soriano, Ichiro, Alex Rodriguez, Brett Gardner, and of course Robinson Cano. I mean, that lineup alone, even without Derek Jeter, is phenomenal. If they can get their pitching together with Andy Pettitte, CC Sabathia, and young Ivan Nova, I don't see why this team can't make the playoffs at all.
Quinn, you're disagreeing? We'll get to you after Julian makes his point real quick here, though.
Well, since you told us to get rid of our Texas bias, I had to go do me some research before the game. So I have to go with Baltimore right now. Baltimore, they've made their first playoff appearance since almost 30 years. In 2012 was their first playoff appearance in 30-year absence. With that being said, it seems as if the seasons as they progress, they're becoming a great finisher. They start kind of crappy in the middle of the season. They start still getting a little murky, but as the season goes on, towards the end, they play a little bit better. Last year they went 8 for 13. Won 8 games for 13. So it looks like they're playing well. As you see now, as they're playing over the Yankees, as we speak it now, it looks like they're still trying to play for heart, and they still like they're playing for something. So with that being said, I like the heart that Orioles got coming in, and they'll win the wild card.
All righty, Quinn.
Look, the Rangers are already tied to win it right now.
So put your bias aside,
Listen,
man.
I'm trying, but the facts don't lie. Like, the stats don't lie.
Okay, let's hear it.
They always fall into little funks here and there, and it's good to fall into one, a little bit closer to the playoffs. We have, the Rangers have the Rays, they have the Astros, some very not that great teams ahead. They'll get it together during that funk. Darvish, Garza, they've been on fire all year. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
That's a good point, but I'm going to have to go with Julian on this one. He came with the non-biased opinion here, and Julian's going to go ahead and get the point with the Baltimore Orioles response. All right, let's switch back to the NFL now. With the first week of the NFL season in the books, we saw only 3 players rush for over 100 yards in their season openers, while we saw 12 different quarterbacks pass for over 300 yards. Now, panelists, I know it's only week 1, and it's never really a good idea to overanalyze 1 week of football, but in your minds, do these numbers prove that the NFL is really becoming a passing league? Julian, down at the end, we'll start with you, man.
As we talked about it a long time ago, Jeff, on Not On Our Show, we talked about it, and I'm going to stick to my side of what we said on Not On Our Show. It is becoming a passing game. It is becoming more of passing than rushing. As we saw about the stats, this first week, 2 running backs, excluding the quarterback, I forgot his name,
Terrell Pryor, the Raiders.
Pryor, who ran over for 100. 2 running backs only rushed for 100, and one was 181. Well, with the MVP, running back Adrian Peterson, he only ran for 93. And we all know, all of us fans know, Vikings stay off of the rushing game. With that being said, that shows you that this game is becoming more of passing, and the running backs are just basically either going to be a little option, or they're going to just basically almost potentially get rid of position.
That's a good point.
AP all day.
Quinn, what do you got?
It's leaning towards that. I don't think it'll be there soon, but secondaries are pretty young. A great running back is hard to find, and there are some amazing quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and they will exploit a young, unexperienced secondary in a second, as we saw this past weekend. So that's definitely a possibility. I mean, you have Adrian Peterson, and then what? Like, who's performing on that level? Aaron Foster, streaky. There's injuries everywhere. So I think that it could be a passing league, but give it a couple years.
Okay. Harry, what do you got?
I don't think it's becoming a passing league. I think it is a passing league. I think it has been a passing league. The last
For how many
Super
years?
Bowl winners, Joe Flacco, and, as much hate as he got, he beat Peyton Manning in a shootout to make it to the AFC Championship game, and then beat Tom Brady. And before that, you have Eli Manning, you got Aaron Rodgers, and you got Drew Brees. I mean, these guys can put up crazy numbers. Brady's been to 5 Super Bowls. Peyton's been to 2. I mean, you look at all the winners, and it's all quarterbacks, it's all teams that can really put points on the board. And, there are teams with good defenses, good running backs, but, not a lot that can make it to the top. So that's why I think it's been a passing league.
All right, do you guys think we're going to see these low rushing yards continue as the season goes on? Just real quick.
Moderate to low.
I do, very low.
I see.
It's because the quarterbacks are protected.
I still see Adrian Peterson trying to break the record for Emmitt Smith, so I see him going well, but anybody else, probably Marshawn Lynch, Aaron Foster, everybody, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go with Harry. I'm going to have to give Harry the point on this one. I like the point he made about the past few Super Bowl quarterbacks and quarterbacks that have been in the Super Bowl putting up huge passing yards. So, Harry, you're going to get the point on this one. After the break, we'll talk more football and even a little soccer. Stay here. It's College Crossfire.
Past of a lot of injuries. So, if everybody stays healthy, I think it's a possibility. But, overall, I don't think it's going to hold up.
Julian, what do you think?
I think this setting my cowboy bias aside about this right now.
Thank you for that.
The Eagles have a great up-tempo offense, and I think it's going to do well for them, and they possibly could go to the playoffs. Chip Kelly, he's coming from Oregon. That up-tempo offense helped him a lot when he was the head coach in Oregon. Now, as you see with the read option, all the NFL experts were like, I don't think this read option is going to work. I don't think this up-tempo offense that he got in the NFL is going to work. Obviously, against the Redskins, he put up some big numbers. With that being said, even Michael Vick said during the offseason, he basically made sure that he was ready for this offense. He was basically making himself prepped up for this offense. And you've seen it on the game opener against the Redskins that he's playing remarkably well, and he loves this offense. So with that being said, I think this is going to be a great offense. And right now, LaShawn McCoy is leading the NFL in rushing. So I think it's going to be fine.
Guys, I think I'm going to have to give the point to Quentin on this one. He brought up the playmakers right away. He brought up Michael Vick is 33. I mean, and I agree, it's all going to depend on his health if he can stay healthy. And I agree, it probably can be sustainable if all their playmakers can stay healthy, especially Vick, like you said. So Quentin's going to go and get the point on this one. It's all tied up going into soccer now, guys. Last night, the United States men's national soccer team defeated Mexico 2-0 to clinch its 7th straight World Cup appearance. Qualifying for 7 straight World Cup appearances is never easy, especially for a country that doesn't really seem to care much about the sport. So, panelists, is there anything the U.S. men's soccer team can do to expand the interest of the sport as something other than an excuse to drink beer and yell patriotic chants? Harry, you got this one first.
I think there's one thing, and that's win. Just win, baby, win. I think if you can go to the World Cup and somehow pull it off, I think that would be huge for this country. And, I think it has grown a little bit. I don't remember much people talking about soccer, even when they were in the World Cup. The past 2 times, and this time a little bit more of an uprising that people are actually watching the qualifying games, let alone the actual World Cup. So you get to the World Cup, you make it past the group stages, you make it past the round of 16, and if you can get into the semifinals or the championship game, I think that could really change the way the nation looks at soccer.
Okay, Julian, thoughts?
I have to completely disagree with him. That's like saying Texas would actually come and go to Quidditch games because we're number 1 in the nation. Because the Quidditch team is number 1 in the nation. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't see any other way of attracting fans to watch soccer unless advertising it more. That's the only thing that's basically working right now. Get ESPN, get CBS, get NBC to just basically advertise it to the point where it's going to appeal audience. And that's the only thing I see is going to help soccer get any kind of position, because as you said, we've been knowing men's soccer team has been trying to get in the World Cup has been clinching the berth since in the 80s, 84 if I'm not mistaken. So there's no excuse of us not looking at it. So I think advertising should be able to help appeal soccer to us fans.
Okay, Quentin?
No, I kind of agree with Julian there. The last time that they even won a World Cup was in 1930, so really it doesn't matter if they're winning or not. They tried to bring Beckham over here. They tried to do everything, but honestly, people are not interested in it just simply because it's not the most intriguing sport. People are used to basketball, football. They want hits. They want quick. They want now. They want a high-speed game. But with soccer, it's more of a not thinking man's game, but you have to really sit down and really love it to watch it. So, I mean, maybe if they win, of course, it's going to spike interest. But other than that, I don't see it happening.
Guys, Quentin, Julian, I think you guys made the best points here. Harry, I like the point you made about just win and then people will be interested. But I'm going to have to agree with Quentin and Julian here. I think there's just too many other things that it has to compete with: football, basketball, baseball. Those things are way too popular right now. So Quentin and Julian are going to get the point here. We're going to transition back into college football now. The Texas Longhorns and the USC Trojans are 2 of the most storied football programs in college football, but both have fallen on rough times the past few years. Both teams had high expectations coming into the season, and both were beat last week by seemingly much weaker opponents. Many people out here on the 40 acres have been calling for Mack Brown to be fired, while many at USC have been calling for athletic director Pat Hayden to pull the trigger and fire Coach Lane Kiffin. So with that being said, guys, whose seat do you think is hotter right now, Mack Brown or Lane Kiffin? Julian, we'll start with you at the end.
Obviously, it has to be Lane Kiffin's head coach spot. To be honest, you're talking about one of the top college programs in the nation. You got Texas, Alabama, LSU, and a couple of others on the East Coast. But in the West Coast, you got USC. and it used to be UCLA, but that's just been off the wall for a little bit. So the Trojans have also been contenders some of the time back in the history. Now, they barely even won the Sun Bowl last year. And now Lane Kiffin.
They lost the Sun Bowl last year.
I'll say they lost the Sun Bowl. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. And then yesterday, Lane Kiffin didn't even know his players had a come to Jesus meeting with themselves, and he didn't even know anything about it. When the reporters came to talk to him, I never heard. I didn't know they had one. And one of the players came out and said, we did. That being said, you can't even control your team. So Lane Kiffin is on a hotter spot than Mac Brown right now, and he needs to get it together before he gets fired.
I like that point, Julian. What do you think, Quinn?
I think that Max is not as hot as Lane's, but it definitely is super high right now. The Longhorns are, if I'm not mistaken, 24-18 since the national championship game, and that's no good. But Lane, he's definitely hotter simply because it's a newer system over there, and USC had high hopes. They came in at 25, but with Mac, it's not going to be such a quick departure. With Lane, they could cut him like quickly, but here in Texas, they're not going to do that to Mac. Mac is the god of Texas football here. So
besides DKR.
Besides DKR. So, yeah, okay. So he'll be, like, ushered out in a nice way, but Lane's is on fire simply because USC has nothing to lose right now.
That's a good point as well. Harry, what do you think?
Lane Kiffin, I'm going to back him up a little bit. His first 2 years, they weren't even eligible for a bowl. It's tough to recruit kids when you have to tell them you guys won't be able to play for a national championship even if we go undefeated. And if you can't recruit well, you're not going to play well. It's just that simple in college sports. I think Mac Brown's seat is on fire. I mean, we can't beat OU, and we're getting blown out. And we're making it to these okay bowl games, but it's just not good enough in a town where you have to win national championships or it's bust. So I think another loss to OU this year and another 8-4 season, I think it's over for Mac Brown.
All right, all good points here. I think I'm going to have to go with Harry. I like the point he made about Lane Kiffin having USC coming into that job, on probation for 2 years. It's tough to recruit. Seems like Texas is too deep at every position right now, whereas USC maybe one deep or playing walk-ons at certain positions as well. Quentin and Julian, you guys did make good points, and Mac has a successful track record, and he is a legend. I mean, he brought the only other Texas championship with the exception of DKR. But I think the point's going to have to go to Harry here on this one. Coming up next, it's everyone's favorite round, rapid fire. Anything can happen. Stay tuned. It's College Crossfire.
Down, Harry.
Welcome back. It's College Crossfire. It's time for our rapid fire round, where every question is worth double the points, and it's everybody's favorite round. Let's get a quick score update before we begin, though. We're all tied here, guys. 3 all across the board. Anything can happen. It's rapid fire. Everything's worth 2. Well, let's get it started, guys. During this past weekend's game between Notre Dame and Michigan, ESPN interviewed rap star and Michigan native Eminem. To say the least, the interview got a little bit awkward. So panelists, take a look at this picture from the interview and give me your best attempt at a caption to describe the situation. Anybody jump in?
I'll go. Awkward. And you have to add the A's. All right, you can't forget that.
Awkward.
Yeah, of course.
Quentin, Julian, anything, guys?
Will the real Brent Musburger please stand up?
Julian, what do you got?
Crap. I ain't got nothing.
I mean, points are going to have to go to Quentin on this one. That was too funny. Will the real Brent Musburger please stand up?
I'll give you that cue. That was good. That was good, Q.
All right, guys, let's jump into the second rapid fire here. Much has been made of defensive players in the NFL faking injuries to get some extra rest when playing against a hurry-up offense. Now, panelists, watch this video of Giants safety Deion Grant faking an injury after a play in last weekend's season opener. Do you guys have a problem with the players doing this, or is it just good strategy? Look at 34 right there. Seemingly walking back to the huddle, just falls on the ground.
That's terrible. Listen.
That's bad.
So, and anybody jump in, you guys got a problem with this, or just good
I have a
strategy?
problem with this. This is like flopping in the NBA. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is
Just,
you have no integrity.
come on now.
But the thing about this one is at least like make it kind of something. Like in soccer, they at least kind of run into somebody. This guy was walking back and he just fell to the floor. Like
There was no acting involved.
Make it seem like you tackled
What is
somebody
that?
or try to block somebody. Then
As
you
a Cowboy fan, I'm
Like
out.
I mean, that looked like
that-
LeBron.
seriously?
in the finals, taking just flying all over the face. You're
terrible.
260
Like, come on, man.
pounds.
But you have to at least, if you're gonna do it, be
Nobody
slick about
can
it.
move you like that.
I agree. Be slick about it. Points are going to have to go to Harry on this one for the LeBron James NBA Finals comparison. LeBron was flopping a lot in the finals. Points are going to go to you, Harry. All right, let's get started on the next one. This photo seen on FoxSports.com, taken before last Sunday's game, shows star tight end Vernon Davis's locker where he keeps a Chucky doll wearing a 49ers helmet. Davis was also seen enjoying a pregame meal with his Chucky doll in another photo. A little bit creepy. So, panelists, for 2 points, I want to know, if you were an NFL player, what would be the weirdest thing you would keep in your locker for good luck? Anybody jump in?
Okay. So I have this blanket.
It's not creepy.
My mom gave me when I was a child, and it's good luck. It's an amazing, awesome blanket, and I think I would take pregame naps with that blanket, so it'd be in my locker.
Okay, I like it, Quinn. Harry, what do you got?
I'd probably go with some lucky, extra pair of Superman socks.
Okay, RG3.
Yeah, I love those.
Y'all saw
Put
last
them
week.
on, automatically got powers.
Julian, you're not liking the Superman socks. What do you got for your
I
good luck
got a
charm?
weirder one for you. When I was in the 8th grade, my girlfriend decided to give me a pink teddy bear, and with it had headphones that you could hook up to your phone. And if you were to press the button on that teddy bear, it would play something very wild and sweet. So what you could do is, on my locker room, I'd have that on my locker. Every time I get ready pumped up, I'll just play this little Care Bear theme song.
Of your
every
8th
time.
grade girlfriend.
Okay, so it's between Quentin and Julian.
We gotta move on.
But guys, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to give Quentin the 2 points. He's gonna get the win. And Julian, that was a little bit creepy with the 8th grade girlfriend, man. We're in college. Quinn went with the nicest one. Blanket his mom gave him for nap time. All right, Quentin, you got 30 seconds of FaceTime. What do you got? You want to shout out to mom?
Shout out to my mom. Hi, Mom. I hope you're watching. But let's talk about my Dallas Cowboys. So I know everybody saw the Giants game. Every sloppy win, blah 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 blah. But it's still a W. Our defense looks sharper than ever. Tony's being Tony, but hey, let Tony, and it'll be all right. Dez is going to come out and demolish this week. He didn't have a good week last week. He's due for one this week. Cowboys can win the Super Bowl. That's bottom line.
I don't mean to steal their FaceTime, but Dez needs to step up. He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, mine too.
He's on everybody's
Definitely.
fantasy team. Only got 2 points from him. I'm done.
I know,
Oh,
disappointing.
I got a little.
Miles Austin.
Miles Austin chance are good. And then the Rangers, I'm going to go ahead and expand on that a little bit. We're going to go to the wild card, and if we don't choke, we're going to win the World Series also. And then the Mavericks just picked up Fab Melo. Wow.
Yeah, Melo.
The center we needed.
Bold
The center we
predictions here.
needed.
All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up with that. That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us on College Crossfire. Follow us on Twitter at CollegeXFire. Also, for all the latest in UT sports, tune in to College Press Box Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. and follow them on Twitter at College Press Box. And guys, one thing I got to add before we sign off. I mean, for all the fun we had today, we need to remember the victims and everybody that passed away in the September 11th, 2001 attack. So I know we had fun, but just want to take a moment of silence for them. All right, guys. Well, until next week, we tune in and catch us again at 9:30 p.m. every Wednesday. Good night.
You should go something.